Well, in week 5, we are covering the topic of missional thinking. And so this is a new development over the last decade. And so as we think about the role of mission, there are many broad definitions and terms that designate the mission-minded or mission-focused or missional thinking as you look at your various readings. One could think that every organization should be missional. And that's suggested by Bouchard and Eliers offers the readers a refocus toward the past of accomplishing mission. The writers offer 5 expressions of what they consider the new monasticism as providing the means toward mission. You'll see that on pages 196 through 201. And the reader must retrieve the old ways and bring into existence the new era of these practices within the church. So the church is retrieving those traditions from the past and retrieving those practices into the present. And so here the term mission is used in to highlight the terms such as practices or theological imagination. Such as the term practices you'll see on page 204, and then theological imagination, they'll point to that on pages 207 and 212 for your reference. Regardless of the opinion toward the subject of mission, you and I need to examine those benefits from the past as they have contributed to our spiritual formation throughout the ages. And so not all of the practices are helpful, nor should we think of those practices of the past as being bad. We should look at the trustworthy practices as emerging from the scriptures. That's where we should be heading. What I would like to do is consider postmodernity and what maybe you've been hearing as you read some of your books is the meta-narratives that exist. So let me just start off by saying postmodernity has helped the church to see and refocus its view and practice of biblical hermeneutics. While I am not agreeing with postmodernity on all of its teachings throughout the years, however, I am saying that there is a connection that the church must go back to the storyline of Scripture as a helpful meta-narrative. God is a missionary God who seeks to redeem people. He is a missionary God that sends faithful individuals into his mission. Isaiah chapter 45, verse 22. And part of the grand scheme of the Bible is to see God teaching his people through the law, through the priests and the prophets. Fathers were encouraged to teach the future generations the scripture. We see that in Exodus chapter 10, verse 2. And God is missional both as we look at both the Old Testament and the New. I would encourage you to open to Psalm 67 and see how God is a missional God using the nation of Israel and sending that message of the gospel into the ends of the earth. And the Psalm 67 gives us that focus. So a few things I want to cover here as we look at biblical missional in our thinking. Notice the term I'm using, biblical, and then missional in our thinking. The first thing I would like to cover is, number one, the gracious heart of God is missional. And this is coming right from Isaiah chapter 6. He is seeking God. Isaiah is the prophet, and he's devised a rescue plan for the world. And so God asks us to join in his mission. We're sent out as his followers. John Stott aptly stated that the call of God is to share his own mission in the world. First, he sent his son, and then he sends his spirit. And now he sends his church, that is us. He sends out his spirit into the world to announce his son's salvation, and he worked through his son to achieve it. And he's working through each one of us to make it known. What a powerful statement that John Stott offers to his readers and to the church that we should be thinking about as as missional in our mindset. But the second thing I want you to know is that there's engagement in the world. So missional, biblical missional thinking is engagement in the world. Mission requires us to be active in the world. Jesus' words to us, peace be with you. As the Father has sent me, I am sending you. John chapter 20, verse 21, is a clear missional goal for the church. There is no retrieval of the past practices other than focusing mainly on the commands of Jesus. Go into all the world and preach the gospel and do the work of discipleship as we are being sent out. So that's engagement. That's biblical missional engagement in the world. Let me offer number 3. Think comprehensively in regards to evangelism. Mission is the totality of all that Scripture has stated from bookend to bookend. We draw upon the rich missionary enterprises that God invoked through each biblical account. And I just would like to cite a few of those, and you can read this for yourself. Luke chapter 24, verses 46 through 48. And then if you go to Luke chapter 2, verses 29 and 32, you begin to see that this unfold. So we recognize Christ's coming as showing us the true light of the gospel. So I want you to think comprehensively in regards to evangelism, how this fits within your life and the life of the church. Now let's move on to this whole idea of compassion-focused mission. We're to think biblically in regards to our thoughts about missional thinking. Now let's add the word compassion to it. Part of spiritual formation process is to think about compassion in the whole new light. So how does compassion fit within the new paradigm? Well, Jesus modeled compassion. He did this by feeding and healing and touching and also cleansing those who needed God's healing touch. And so he exercised compassion both when he encountered the demonic, those who were dead, and even the most rebellious of the lawgivers. Matthew chapter 14 and chapter 15 and 20 begin to unfold the way Jesus shows up and touches the lives of those who are lost. Now, there are other examples that Jesus used, such as the Good Samaritan story, to push us forward toward this compelling call to compassion, to show compassion on those who are outsiders, those, as Luke would describe, Gentiles. Luke chapter 10, verses 30 through 37. So this is what I want you to see as you move through this biblical missional side for week number 5, and as you begin to collate the material from your book and assemble it into your philosophical paper. This is the goal, the end goal for the spiritual formation side, missional thinking, and how are you applying that missional thinking into your daily life and even into the life of the church.